it is February, and that means it is the month to share love. And now I've seen all the videos on TikTok and Pinterest of moms who cut out paper hearts and tape to bedroom doors, reasons why their children are loved. And of course, I want to do something as well for my kids to make them feel loved. And I think that I'm just going to put a little twist on it. Obviously, that is going to be laser cut. That way I can create something that can not only be used this year, but year after year, and also be reusable. So I hope to make a door hanger with a cutout whiteboard heart on it, and I can write out reasons every morning when they wake up for them to check. So come join me. Let's get this made up and see what we can do for the month of February. Now, of course, I'm going to be using the Lightburn software that came with my laser. First, I'm going to make a rectangle, and I just did a quick Google search to how big door hangers are, and typically they are about 3.5 inches wide. So I'm going to adjust that, and I'll adjust the height later. From here, I'm going to create 2 circles so that my door hanger will have the rounded edges, and I'm going to make sure that the edge of the circle is flush against the corner of the rectangle, just to make sure that it stays smooth. These little guidelines around the side will help tell me where the center of the circle will be, just so it's more of a circle and not an oval. So I'm going to scooch that in a little bit more, and I'm going to zoom in for this side. It's still too far away, so I'm going to shrink that circle a little bit further, and then I'm just going to grab that handlebar right there. Check the other side, squish that in a little bit, and that's perfect. I'll have a rounded top once these are all merged together. I am going to have a rounded bottom as well, just because I like to be a little bit extra with this. So I'm going to do the same thing. I just duplicated by hitting Command D, and I have the same circle, and then I'm going to hit the Command and up arrow to make sure those gray boxes that tell me where the center of the circle is also right at the bottom of my rectangle that I have. Okay, so this is the rough outline, and I know it's really hard to tell that this is going to be a door hanger, but I have these shapes here. It is 3.5 inches wide. Most door hangers, from what I Googled, are about 8.5 inches tall. From here, I'll be able to widen this to be 3.5 inches wide. All right. Now, you can come over here and weld all the shapes together, and this is going to be the rough shape of our door hanger. Next, I'm going to take a circle, and I am going to make it so about 1.5 inches in diameter. I'm going to select all the shapes and make sure that it is centered. I am also then going to take my rectangle tool and create a rectangle, put it on an angle, and I just need to make sure that that corner is inside of my circle. Then I can select all the shapes again. I'm going to actually select the inner 2 shapes and group them together. And then I'm going to select the rectangle, and I'm going to use the Boolean subtract feature to create my door hanger. All right, now I'm a little bit extra here. I want this to be rounded, so I'm actually going to click on this, and I'm going to make this flat right here so it goes straight across. And then I'm going to get my circle tool again and make sure, just like I did before, that the middle of the circle lines up with the corner of my shape. And then I am going to select the other object and merge everything together. So now I have a rounded edge here, an arc up top, and an arc around the bottom. 8.5 inches long, 3.5 inches wide. There's my door hanger. Next up, I'll be creating my heart. So I'm going to come over here and grab the polygon tool and draw a polygon. I can always adjust the size on this later. Make sure that the shape is selected, head to shape properties, and turn down the number of sides to 3 so you have a triangle. What you also have is the bottom of a heart. I like fat squishy hearts, so I'm just going to squish it up. All right, so I'm going to make it pretty short at the bottom. I'm going to grab my circle tool in order to make the top of the hearts. Okay, Just as before, I want to make sure that it stays flush against the outside corner so it's a smooth shape. Command D duplicates this. I'm going to hold Shift and drag it across and make sure that stays flush as well. Whoop. Okay, now I can see that that crevice there doesn't go too deep, so I'm going to actually squish to make more of an oval shape rather than perfectly round. And then I'm going to select all of them, head over to weld them together. I have a gap right there, so I'm going to click ungroup, click the outside of the heart, and delete the inside gap. Now this is a pretty good heart. I can then adjust it and play with it. If I hit the shift button, I can make it fatter, wider, and really make it perfect for what I'm using it for. This heart right here will act as my whiteboard that I'll be able to write in each day, and I hope to glue it to this wooden door hanger. There it is. Next up would be to add the text that I would like it to have. Before I get started with adding fonts, I'm actually going to try to put a seamless pattern that I can engrave really lightly in the background, just to see how it turns out. I actually have these drawings already made and saved, so I'm just going to select 2 of them to see how it works in my EPS file, and I'm going to paste them in here. I'm going to highlight them and make sure that the fill color is so I can see it, and I'm going to regroup them individually. That, but just a little smaller. And over here, I'm going to start on this side. And I have them selected. I'm actually going to weld them together. And then I'm going to click the array button. And it says number of columns, number of rows. This is where I can play with my patterns to make them go across and up. So I'm going to do rows first. And I'm going to adjust the spacing so they look more connected. Perfect. Now I'm going to do the columns. But I would like it staggered a little bit. So I'm going to increase the space away and then also down. Looks so good. Okay. So I'm going to select everything, undo the door hanger that we made, and group this together just so I can adjust it with where I would like it. Now to get it to go just within this area of the hanger, I'm going to select the hanger and hit Command D to duplicate it. Then I'm going to select the outline again and my pattern, and I am going to come over here to use the Boolean intersection of 2 shapes tool, which is a mouthful. Go ahead and click it, and my pattern stays directly in the door hanger. Over in cuts and layers, if I want to see my black layer, my cut layer first, I can just adjust where it falls within my cut and layers panel. Okay, I'm actually going to turn the blue layer off so it's a little bit faded and I can see what I'm working on a little bit more clearly. And from here, I am going to add my text. And I think that I am just going to put, I love my daughter's name because. So join me as I go through my endless search of finding the perfect font. Perfect. I like them. I'm going to make sure everything is centered. I'm going to actually make sure that I love and the because is just a little bit smaller so her name stands out. And recenter it. I actually want the word because centered and not just the dots. And then I'm going to select it all. Come over here. Group it together. And I'm going to have the engrave right here. Okay, so here's the door hanger, and as you can tell, it looks a little bit clustered. The one thing I'm going to do is make this heart a little bit bigger so that I have maximum room to write messages on it. I'm then also going to make sure that it is centered across the door hanger. The next thing that I can do to really make this pop is just adjust the settings. So the outline right here is going to be cut on wood. Typically, I do a 17 power, 53 or 55 speed. This heart right here is going to be on whiteboard, so I'm going to give that a whole different color to color code it, and I'll have to look up my settings for this, but I want to say I do like 15, maybe 65. For those settings, it's a little bit denser for me to cut. The blue flowers, I want that to keep that nice and light, so I'm actually probably just going to do a 25 power, and I'm going to lower the LPI to just 300. And the lettering itself, I want that to be nice and dark, so I'm going to keep that at 400 speed, but to get that dark color to appear, I'm going to do a higher power and a higher LPI. Aside from that, with my file already created, I'm going to come down here to optimization settings and remove the overlapping lines. This way, I'll be able to engrave the name and the lettering without having to worry about the floral elements being directly underneath of that. Ready to bring it to life? Let's fire it up. Okay, so now let's try to bring this door hanger to life. I found some scrap wood that I can cut several door hangers out of, which is perfect because I have 5 kids. Everyone can get their own. So I'm going to check the file, make sure that all the settings are still good to go, send it on over to the laser, and start cutting. Here, you'll want to follow your typical routine. Put the material in the laser, focus your nozzle, and then make sure that you frame out your artwork. These clips show the real speed of my AEON Mira 9 100-watt laser. Okay, so I just took these out of the laser, and as you can see, they turned out beautiful. I have 3 for my oldest girls, and I have one generic one that I kept because my twins share a bedroom and they'd fight over the names. But now it's time to cut out the whiteboard part, and my settings were in fact correct. I had them around 15 or 17 speed with a maximum power of 65 to cut through the whiteboard. The whiteboard that I have is actually one-sided chalkboard, one-sided whiteboard, and can be found at Lowe's. Home Depot also has them, but I've had the best luck using this one right here, and I perfected the settings on this one too. So let's stick this in the laser and get those hearts cut out. And of course, the last step of assembly. I am going to use both Gorilla Glue and wood glue in order to apply glue to the heart and then stick it on here. The super glue will help it bond instantly, while the wood glue will help it dry further over time. So the super glue kind of just locks it into place. First, the wood glue. And little dabs of super glue to lock it into place. I'm gonna let that sit for a minute and do the next one. The really nice thing about the hearts is that you can choose. You can probably even do the chalkboard side and use the chalkboard marker, or you can use the whiteboard side and keep it as a whiteboard marker. I think they came together beautifully. Now we gotta test it out, of course. While I'm generally a pretty low-key holiday person, the one reason I do love Valentine's Day is because we get to express how we feel and how much we appreciate other people. And while we don't do this with our spouses and our parents nearly enough, I can also bet that we don't do it with our children nearly enough. So it shows them how much they are loved and how to convey their feelings to other people as well. Additionally, you don't have to make the whiteboard part heart-shaped. You can make it any shape or leave the heart to make these door hangers usable year-round. Alright guys, if you enjoyed making these festive door hangers with me, then make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can make more with me. Or head on over to my TikTok where I share all my favorite laser tips and tricks through my TikToks.